Hello, welcome to the series on preparing for the last days. Now, this one is going to seem strange because it's preparing to meet Jesus. Well, if you're like me, then you're a Christian and you love the Lord and you want him to come. We want him to come to rescue us. We'd like to get the rescue sooner rather than later, but we want to get the rescue. We want him to come, don't we? Well, hold on, not so fast. Maybe if you look a little deeper into your own heart, you'll find that there are pockets of resistance inside of you. And maybe you don't really want him to come as much as you think you want him to come. And this is where we need to get ready. See, there's going to be a whole group of people on planet Earth that do not want the Lord to come because he's going to interfere with their way of living. He's going to interfere with their way of doing business. He's going to interfere with their way of running the show without him. These are the ones called the kings of the earth. Let's read a little bit from Revelation 6. Then the kings of the earth and the great ones and the generals and the rich and the powerful and everyone, slave and free, hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains, calling to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him who's seated on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb, for the great day of his wrath is come. Who can stand? Well, they're experiencing his wrath because they're not living for him. They're not wanting him to be their Lord. He knows it. They know it. And so they're wanting to hide from him. So one of the best ways to prepare for the Lord is to love his appearing, and to love his appearing even now. Would you want the Lord to show up in all of your moments right now? Would you want him to come in to when you're doing business, the way you're going about your job? Would you want him to walk in the door on you? When you're carrying on with family members, when you're talking to your children or to your parents, or you're talking to family members and friends, when you're talking to strangers, would you want him suddenly appearing? Would you already be doing your life the way that you fully imagine he could approve of? And would you be living under his leadership? If we don't love his appearing now, how can we be sure we will really be among those happy people that are looking forward to and loving his appearing when he comes towards the end with the rescue? And so part of this is learning to take up our cross and follow him. Jesus says there's something inside all of us that doesn't want him to be Lord of our lives. There's something inside all of us that really doesn't want him to draw too close. And so we don't draw all that close to him at times because we don't want to listen in order to follow. We don't want to give up being in charge of our own life. It's called the life of self within us. If we're going to love his appearing, we've got to get rid of sin, because he is not going to be very tolerant of any sin that he sees in us, not any obvious sin. That's got to go. And so one of the ways to be prepared to meet him is to start getting the sin out of your life right now. If you've got it, God forbid you have major sins in your life, but if they're there, start crying out to him for deliverance and get serious about getting free. Take advantage of everything that is offered to you by the Lord, especially placing yourself under his leadership, and get free of those things that are separating you from him. Be prepared to meet him. He loves you, but he wants to send the obvious sins, the carnal sins especially, out of our lives. He wants them gone. And there's no excuse for them being there. It's a sign that we don't want his leadership. But even once we get sin out of our life, we've still got the greatest threat of all left behind, and that's self being in charge. Self is Satan's rulership inside of us, disguised as our own self. When we place ourselves in the center of our life and on the throne, and our life becomes all about what do I want, what do I believe, what do I want to do, where is there room for the leadership of Jesus Christ? And so Jesus said to his disciples, he said, if you want to be my disciple, if you want to follow me, then you need to do these three things. You need to deny yourself. Say no to that desire to rule your own life. Deny yourself the right to rule over you. Deny yourself. Take up your cross, which is the thing that you're not necessarily going to want to do, but it's the thing that God and Jesus want you to do. Take up your cross and follow me. And how are we ever going to follow Jesus into closer walking with him if we don't do these two things? And he said, by the way, we need to do this daily. So cross-bearing discipleship, learning how to deny ourselves, and take up our cross and follow him is as important as getting sin out of our life to clear the way of wanting to meet him. When I was a brand spanking new Christian back in 1982, I looked up at the Lord and I said, I want you to come, but I'm not ready for you yet. I said, I got things in my life that still had to be pulled out. I'd had just had 7 demons pulled out. I mean, there were more that needed to go, and they've gone. And I need to learn how to talk. I didn't know, how do I talk to you? How do I spend time with you? Well, in the intervening time, I've spent a lot of time talking to him, drawing close in prayer and in praise, in worship, and in all kinds of ways, trying to listen and follow, in all these ways, getting to know him better and better. And all of that is a part of wanting to meet him. And what we're going through, this is what we're heading into, the tribulation, and all of that isn't about holding your breath and hoping you'll survive. It's about preparing your heart all the way through to want his appearing. Let's take a word here from Paul. He says in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8, henceforth there is laid up for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. So he has a whole different idea about the day that's coming. Remember the kings of the earth and how they were terrified at the thought of having to face Jesus because they had so much in their life that wasn't surrendered to him and didn't want to be surrendered to him. So our first step is pray to come into this position, Paul is, where you pray, Lord, get me surrendered to you. Help me to take up my cross daily. Help me to get the sin out of my life. Help me to do these things to prepare my heart so that I really do want you in my life.